San Francisco, San Fran, sure, all indication points to at the very least the next mainline Fallout installment taking us to the West Coast. A first for BGS, although their vision of the region is currently being explored with the Amazon TV show, with Todd Howard establishing that they are avoiding tackling certain plot and setting related topics that likely will be explored with Fallout 5. So, as speculation builds, recent comments from former Bethesda VP Pete Hines, who admitted the company isn't the same anymore, have added a more uncertain tone to the conversation. For many fans, those words echo a growing unease about whether the Bethesda that once defined open-world RPGs still exists. The wait for Fallout 5 will become one of gaming's longest, with Bethesda's focus on Starfield and The Elder Scrolls 6 pushing the next entry in the series far into the future. Yet, despite the absence of an official sequel, Bethesda has kept the franchise going in the form of the popular Amazon TV show and an online live service that has certainly had its ups and downs. More noteworthy, though, is how the Fallout community continues to keep the wasteland alive through sheer passion and creativity. Massive fan projects like Fallout London have effectively delivered a full-scale new game, offering fresh settings, stories, and factions that rival Bethesda's own efforts. And with Fallout Bakersfield on the horizon, the modding scene shows no signs of slowing down. These ambitious works not only preserve interest in the series, but also demonstrate how deeply fans understand and care for the world of Fallout, often pushing its ideas further than the studio that has popularized it. It's this sort of creative muscle that makes the wait for Fallout 5 bearable, but also highlights the concerns that are mounting of a studio that feels more and more disconnected from the expectations that gamers have of big-budget RPGs these days. Still, that doesn't mean the genre itself is slowing down, far from it. In fact, we're seeing new studios step up and deliver the kind of rich, choice-driven experiences fans have been craving. One of those taking on this mission is today's sponsor, Rules of Engagement: The Grey State, a free-to-play tactical RPG shooter set in an unstable dimension overrun by horrific monstrosities and alien artifacts. As you can see with its new gameplay trailer, it is full of fast-paced combat and a mix of genres that come together in a really unique way. The build potential is real here, with a focus on player freedom. What that means is combining classes through the massive skill tree is encouraged. I personally will gravitate towards the Sledge class, which just think tank. The point-blank demolition skill sounds like a blast, like a literal one, as the sledgehammer enjoys an explosive tip that sends enemies flying. What's cool is that this isn't just another shooter. It's a PvPvE experience with monsters and bounty hunting, layered progression, and most importantly, no pay-to-win nonsense. Every match is a gamble between playing it safe or risking it all for legendary loot. So become a Strider, an elite operative hired to venture into the Grey State. Do that by following my link in the description down below and wishlisting the game now on Steam. Join today. Thank you again to Rules of Engagement: The Grey State for sponsoring the video and supporting the channel. So Bethesda is no stranger to criticism. There's been an immense amount of it over the last number of years, and just recently on the channel, we talked about how former developers were giving their opinion on The Elder Scrolls 6 and how Bethesda needed to evolve forward. And some of the opinion was that there needed to be more creative freedom within the teams, and there was also an argument made that an engine switch was necessary. There's definitely been some very divided opinions on Bethesda, especially in these modern times, as their games just have not delivered in the way that a lot of people had hoped for. And look, the discussion has not just been on the engine or creative freedom, it's also just been on the overall quality of writing and the design of these games. This has been one of the core complaints, and it's not going away. But one more criticism that we actually heard recently came from the Fallout co-creator Tim Cain, who acknowledged Bethesda made the franchise bigger, but he would have done things differently. Did they expand it the way I would have? No, not at all. That's okay. And he specifically brought up the fact of Fallout's humor as one thing that he doesn't think Bethesda did in the way that he agrees with. He said the humor and style would have been different. Fallout was what the 50s thought the future was, not the 50s. Like I said, just very interesting hearing these differing opinions about Bethesda and how they've taken this franchise, but it does need to be acknowledged that Bethesda made this franchise what it is. They popularized it to a whole new audience, and the reason why many of us even have love for this franchise or talking about it today is because of Bethesda's involvement. That is undeniable. But there's also a reason why so many people care about this franchise is because they want to see it get better. And that's why the wait is on Bethesda Bethesda's next installment, Fallout 5, and Bethesda in 2021 committed that they are working on this. This is their game. And this was something that Todd Howard acknowledged in an interview with IGN. Interviewer Ryan McCaffrey brought up the fact that Bethesda is currently concentrating on Starfield and the Elder Scrolls 6, something that is still true to this day because Starfield's second expansion is something that is a major focus of the studio, while they work obviously their main concentration on the Elder Scrolls 6. But Todd Howard was asked if a new Fallout installment may be given to a different developer. And again, you just have to consider the massive gaps between these installments and the fact of between Fallout 4 to Fallout 5, it's going to be like 15 or so years. So it's a reasonable question to ask. And Ryan McCaffrey, the interviewer, brought up the point of maybe a sister Xbox studio or maybe Fallout New Vegas creator Obsidian Entertainment could make the new installment. But Howard doubled down, saying that this is their game. He explained the nuclear role-playing franchise is really part of Bethesda's DNA, so he rejected that. This is their game. They're going to work on it eventually, before revealing a one-page design document for Fallout 5 has already been written. This one-pager is a single-page document outlining the major ideas and concepts of the project and its early development process. Some of this has already been influencing the Fallout TV show, with certain aspects and certain elements that the team has admitted that they're having to steer away from because they don't want to get into that territory that Bethesda is eventually going to explore. However, that was 2021. There's some more updates we're going to get into in a second. But besides Fallout 5, in an official capacity, what are we looking at in terms of new installments? There really is just not a lot to go off of. In 2022, we actually had hope. It was the fact that Fallout New Vegas 2 is reportedly in very early talks at Microsoft. This was some very interesting claims going around, but in 2025, earlier on in the year, cold water was thrown all over this possibility from Fallout New Vegas writer Chris Avellone. He was a major developer at Obsidian. He also co-founded it, and he said specifically that, I could be wrong, but from what I've heard, if it's happening, it ain't Obsidian. I know the rundown of their upcoming titles and franchises. And also just important to understand the New Vegas team that made that game all those years ago, very different than the Obsidian that exists here in 2025. Now, Todd Howard has talked about some of the limitations he has with the Fallout franchise. This has kind of driven crazy a lot of fans of Fallout, because he has pretty much just made clear Fallout is America. That's it. And specifically, he said in an interview a couple of years ago, my view as part of the Fallout shtick is on the Americana naivete. And this limits things because we're not going to see Fallout go to Europe. We're not going to see it go to South America. There's some very interesting post-apocalyptic settings that a lot of fans want. Now, fortunately, though, just because Bethesda doesn't want to do that, the creativity of the modding community is where we're seeing that happen. Last year, this was the experience that we talked about on the channel. I played through it completely. Fallout London, new setting, new characters, new everything. One of the best modding experiences I have ever played. It could honestly be the best. It was just a massive game-sized expansion that had a really unique setting, unique design, and it really was up there with the quality that we've seen out of Bethesda for the longest time. I don't know if that says more about Bethesda or the modding community. You can decide on that. But even just recently, we saw that Fallout London actually got a big DLC with 80 new NPCs, 30 new quests, a bunch of other stuff, and yeah, thousands of bug fixes and improvements. This is what I mean. The creativity coming from the mod community is one of the big things that is keeping this franchise alive and thriving. And it's not even just stopping there, because while Fallout London blew me away last year, we just got a trailer and an announcement that Fallout Bakersfield is going to be possibly releasing in 2027. This is an entire remake built in Doom, and it just got a new trailer. It's an ambitious fan-led project to recreate the original 1997 RPG Ghoul City and the GZ Doom engine, basically boomer shooter Fallout. And like I said, the reviews of this footage and the gameplay you see on the screen, it was glowing. Games Radar saying a Doom-based Fallout fan game has emerged after a 3-year absence, and it looks like the best Fallout in over a decade. PC Gamer pretty much said the same thing. It's downright nuts how good this fan remake of Fallout 1 and Doom looks, and I'm begging Bethesda to take note. And PC Gamer furthermore says, I've not found it. What I have found is one of the most delicious and faithful recreations of the original Fallout 5 and first person that I've ever had the pleasure of seeing. The 3D Fallouts of the Bethesda and Obsidian era have never quite captured the grimy, pulpy aesthetics of the original games, a limitation of the engine as much as anything, I think, but GZ Doom is an absolute perfect match for it. The way the ghouls of Necropolis melt into puddles of gore and goo when set upon by our heroic protagonist is pitch perfect, a startlingly effective recreation of the isometric original just transplanted to ground level. There's even a bit where he misses despite a 94% chance of hitting "We Are Home." And like, this is the innovation, the creativity that the Fallout franchise and Bethesda really has been missing for a while now. And this has been one of my core complaints with the franchise. It's not just writing, it's not just design, it's the fact that Bethesda and really just a lot of this AAA games industry cannot think outside of the box. And Todd Howard already said in the past, we're not going to be getting a Fallout 1 remake, Fallout 2. He doesn't believe in that. He does not want to do any of that. This is something that he said in 2024, just last year. He ruled it out in an interview with Mr. Matty Plays. He said the main priority for us is to make sure they are available and you can still play them. So in the PC, obviously, they're there for people to go and get and play, and making sure that they run okay. As far as beyond that, we've talked about it, but our priorities in terms of, hey, let's go do dev work and make certain things work, they haven't been in those areas. So again, priority is, hey, can people load it up and play it? We want it to load up and run well. The rest of it, I could argue, some of the charm of games from that era and the original Fallout is a little bit of that age. This is the same argument he has made for why they'll never remaster. He doesn't want to remaster Morrowind. I would never want to paste over some of that with, well, we changed how this works so it's more modern. So as long as you can download it, as long as it loads up and runs, I'd like people to experience it the way it was. Now, while Bethesda has rejected this, maybe Microsoft feels differently. It's important to understand that Virtuous was the main developer behind this year's Oblivion remaster, so maybe Microsoft goes around them, finds another studio, maybe inXile, maybe Obsidian works on something like this, but this is the creativity. This is something that the franchise desperately needs, and it's just crazy that the modding community continues to deliver in ways that Bethesda can't here in 2025. And it's crazy for a studio that employs like 1,000 or so developers. But this is just one of the many problems I have with modern BGS. Another one was specifically what happened with Starfield Shattered Space expansion. That was one of the worst expansions I have ever played. It was truly just dreadful. And the thing that we heard coming out of Bethesda wasn't the fact that they were listening, they heard a lot of the criticism, it was the fact that they were proud of Shattered Space. We all are. This is what the design director, Emil Pagliarulo, I can never say his name right, but Emil, this is what he was saying, and that just shows that there is a clear disconnect from what Bethesda wants to make and what gamers want. And like I said, the fact that we're getting this only from the modding community really calls into question the future of this franchise. Now, with new installments, a lot of uncertainty with that, but we do know that this has been a rumor for a long time. Fallout 3 Remastered, it was just leaked again from an insider who said that it's too early in development to be showed at Fallout Day, which quickly approaches. So it's coming, it's just probably a couple of years away. And how involved Bethesda is with that, we don't know, because especially with the Oblivion remaster, Bethesda was not, they didn't develop any of that. That was from Virtuous, and that was also hit with just massive performance issues, and this has been a controversial thing a lot of people have been talking about right now. Even as of just this last month, it still runs extremely poorly on PC, and yeah, it was hit with negative reviews over its recent updates. For a lot of criticism with Virtuous, but this has kind of just been a trend with Xbox. This is why I'm saying, outside of Bethesda, can it be trusted that Xbox is going to find the right partner to make a new Fallout or do something with the Fallout franchise? It really is unclear. There's been a lot of excuses coming from Xbox management over the graveyard of cancellations and disasters. I mean, you can look to the likes of Arcane and Redfall, Rare and Everwild, The Initiative and Perfect Dark, ZeniMax Online Studios, and their Project Blackbird that supposedly Phil Spencer behind the scenes totally believed in until I guess he didn't. The trust with Xbox is just at an all-time low right now. And yeah, that has everything to do with the corporate pressure that is coming down from Microsoft, which oversees the Xbox brand and everything that's being developed and worked on. Microsoft is focused on profits, and they have said time and time again the last couple of years they want Xbox to be all in on their home run franchises. That's why they've been going all in on Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, Overwatch, Minecraft, and yes, Fallout and the Elder Scrolls. And that's why, Todd Howard last year said that they were gonna avoid putting any dates on anything, but I fully believe the vision with Fallout 5 was to take their time with the Elder Scrolls 6 and then move to Fallout 5. But I truly feel that, especially with what we're hearing now in 2025 and the new leaks that have emerged, I think that Xbox is finally putting in motion a plan to have Fallout 5 not releasing maybe in 2031, but maybe in 2029. It's going to be earlier pretty much. And I think a lot of that has to do with the Fallout TV show, the popularity, 100 million viewers. The Fallout franchise, the popularity is at an all-time high right now. And the Xbox brand doesn't have much going on for Fallout besides Fallout 76, and this TV show. And ultimately, that is not good enough, especially for a company that wants to be maximizing profits for all of their big name franchises. And that's why in 2024, it was said once the Fallout TV show debuted and started, being immensely popular, Xbox wants the next Fallout game to come sooner, it's claimed. And this was specifically said from Jez Corden of Windows Central. He claimed that the company is aware of the demand of the Fallout label, and everyone is acutely aware of how successful the next title in the series will be. At this point, one of the only avenues the company would take to speed up the development of Fallout 5 is to take it away from Bethesda Game Studios entirely. That would make it the first major Fallout game not developed by Bethesda since 2010's Fallout New Vegas. And that's an interesting thing, especially with the fact that Todd Howard said that he did not want to do that with Fallout 5. But that brings us to this summer, in which we had new rumors and leaks that emerged surrounding Fallout 5. Multiple Fallout games in development, including potential Fallout 3 Remaster, which we talked about earlier. This is coming from VGC journalist Jordan Midler, who made the aforementioned claim, saying there are multiple Fallout projects in development. He then goes on to cheekily suggest that one of them is even the one that I'm sure you're all wanting, which is teasing a possible remaster of Fallout 3 among the crop of upcoming projects. And one of those projects is indeed Fallout 5, which has reportedly been fully greenlit as of this summer. This is interesting because it's not said that Bethesda Game Studios, the Maryland studio, is specifically working on this. There's actually been reports that Fallout 5's development is reportedly moving forward with an unknown studio, which really calls into question what's happening here. But it was said, this again sourced from Jez Corden of Windows Central, he claimed in the most recent episode of the Xbox 2 podcast that Fallout 5 has been greenlit, but is not entirely sure who is actually making it. Corden believes that Bethesda's core studios are currently working on more Starfield DLC. They are, that's confirmed, as well as The Elder Scrolls 6, which would make sense since Todd Howard has said that The Elder Scrolls 6 is coming before Fallout 5. And it was noted here from GameSpot's report of this is actual quote coming from Jez Corden, from what I heard, it was a case of, do we want to sink a ton of money into getting this Project Blackbird to a point where it can compete with the established players in the market, or do we want to allocate that investment towards making Fallout 5? Jason Schreier of Bloomberg responded to this report. He just kind of gave a different perspective on this, saying Xbox didn't lay off thousands of people so they could move those resources to new projects. They laid off thousands of people to cut their overall fiscal year budget. Not necessarily really a dismissal of what's happening here, but I look to what happened with Halo Studios, and I really do think that this is finally Xbox making movement of having a studio focused on Fallout. And I really do have concern about this, not necessarily because of the idea. This is something I even floated years ago. It's just the Xbox leadership that exists right now, the management. They have shown time and time again they're in over their head right now. Halo Studios got a new name, new engine, new games, new philosophy. They also got new leadership, and it's right now in crisis. All the rumors we've heard from artists that who's running the studio right now, Pierre, I forget his last name, but yeah, it's total chaos. And we're about to see new projects introduced for the Halo franchise, and we'll see what happens with that. Halo's been one of those studios that has been mismanaged for over a decade now, and I truly fear that maybe this is what's ahead for Fallout, especially if Bethesda isn't necessarily, totally overseeing what's happening with Fallout 5. But yeah, Halo Studios' morale sinks following Xbox layoffs, with devs unhappy with the quality of upcoming Combat Evolved remake, and there was a lot more with that. And it's worth mentioning, again, I talked about this earlier on in the video, but former Bethesda VP Pete Hines has been critical of how Xbox is managing over Bethesda right now. There's no question that the company is not the same. When it worked, it was magical. And I just think that is all extremely noteworthy, especially with what we've seen out of Bethesda, not necessarily just Bethesda Game Studios, but all of the studios, how Hi-Fi Rush developer Tango Gameworks was shut down. Arcane Austin, known for their work on Prey, they were shut down after Redfall, a game that they were hoping that was going to be canceled by Xbox leadership once they saw it. They did not. They gave more development afterwards to get things right, and then they just totally shut down that studio. And then there's been even more cancellations, obviously, with Project Blackbird, and a lot of developers questioning and concerned about now being under Microsoft's thumb. So as of 2024-2025, Bethesda's Todd Howard has still said that they are working on Fallout 5. I do wonder, maybe it is just they have this new studio that does the preliminary work, gets things started, but then Bethesda Maryland comes in once they've wrapped with The Elder Scrolls 6. So maybe the timeline has just moved ahead with that. Who knows? It really will be a while until we get get clarity on this, but Todd Howard last year was talking about Fallout 5 and how the TV series was going to be avoiding certain things. One of the producers on the show said that we know all about Fallout 5, we're not telling anyone. This was Jonathan Nolan adding facetiously, and then Todd Howard said, well, there were some things where I said don't do this because we're going to do that in Fallout 5. And yes, that was confirmation that Todd Howard stopped some Fallout 5 ideas from appearing in the Fallout TV show. Some theorize that may be why the NCR hasn't been featured as much, because they could have a big role within Fallout 5, especially if the rumors are correct that it's going to be set in, say, San Francisco. Ultimately, though, the only official things that we have on the horizon with the Fallout franchise is the Fallout TV series with Season 2. We're going to be exploring New Vegas. Maybe they'll be making some certain things canon. That's already been controversial. But there's also Fallout 76, which is actually bringing in the TV series, one of the characters, Walton Goggins, the goal in big New Vegas inspired update, and it's actually going to be another map expansion going into the Ohio Valley. So that's kind of interesting. So the Fallout franchise is continuing on, just unfortunately, Fallout 76 doesn't really speak to me because I care about the story, characters, and factions and all of that, and 76 doesn't really deliver on that. It's a great shooter experience. You still have that Fallout backdrop, but it's far from the Fallout experiences that we all know and love. So 76 right now is the only active new Fallout experiences that we're getting. Maybe Fallout 4 gets some sort of new update with the TV show. We'll see with that. It usually isn't anything too substantial, but there's just a lot of uncertainty surrounding new spin-offs, new installments, and especially with Fallout 5, just a lot of questions and concerns brewing. Fallout London, Fallout Bakersfield, and probably more modding experiences to come. Thank God for the modding community, though. But what do you make of Fallout 5? What are you expecting? What are you hoping? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. But thank you for watching. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy this video, or if you found any informative value. Consider subscribing for more videos like this, and I'll see you later.